Hello, Professional Nerf here to start off my new series of Tip of the Week. This week's tip is on glues and adhesives. Here I have out some various epoxies and hot glue. What I do not recommend at all for a glue is in general a super glue or most super glues. I've heard Zap-A-Gap is really good, but in general I've tried some and found they tend to make the plastic too brittle. Well, it's very strong. If anything hits it, it'll just crack or pop. But it may be an option for some other cosmetic attachments and such. Okay, so here we have 5-minute epoxy. This is just plain normal epoxy. I use this when I'm usually bonding different materials to my blasters or guns, or like if you want to connect wood or metal to plastic. It's 5 minutes, so if you're using a lot of it or working on a big project or something that you don't quite think you can have it perfect in 5 minutes, extra time epoxy is a good option for that. It gives you a lot more time to work with before it sets up. Otherwise, same type of applications. This is plastic epoxy. It's probably one of my favorites because it's designed for plastic or plastic joints specifically. Well, you can use it to bond plastic to wood and stuff. I think this one's a lot better at it. But yes, this one will form, it'll actually like meld and have a chemical reaction with the plastic to an extent that it's adhering to, so it works really great for like PVC to existing blasters and stuff like that. Of course, for your PVC to PVC, you just use PVC cement. But this is really great stuff. Definitely recommend it. And then here we have Epoxy Putty. I really like this stuff by JB Weld because it's got metal in it, and it looks really nice. It turns out to be sort of a gunmetal-ish color, which is really nice. And this I primarily use for larger attachments, like my small bicycle pump to my Titan launcher was attached using Epoxy Putty. This works great for cosmetic works and fillers. Some of it was used on my Stampede Mini-Me and on my Han Solo blasters. Some of the build-up work around the front area was done with this. It's really great, pretty strong and robust, but not great for the fine applications or stuff that you really need critical to stick together. That's when you use one of these two. Another option for other cosmetic rods is glue. Now, hot glue, I've seen a lot of different things done with it, but believe it or not, just pouring hot glue on your item it's not the optimal solution. But you only need to put in a small bead or medium bead, adhere to your surface, and then maybe small bead on the edge. You don't just puddle it up. That being said, it's mediocre strong. It really doesn't adhere that strongly, but it's good for like cosmetic things. If you want to attach something that's building onto a blaster, forms up, you're going to sand it down or whatever, shape it, paint it, it's pretty good there. But keep in mind too that most hot glue is sensitive to temperature changes. For instance, this is one of my older Steffens that's been around a couple of years. After shooting it at a wall, because this had been through some climate changes with winter and stuff, after shooting it towards a wall, the front of it just completely shattered. And I've had a lot of my other stuff that I hot glued, my earlier mods, that have cracked and came off, so I went back and I redid some with some of plastic epoxy and stuff. It seems to be holding up pretty good since then. But still, there's nothing wrong with it. It's cheap, it's pretty easy, and most people have access to it. Okay, so now some more about epoxy. So of course epoxy has two parts. All of these have two parts. They're in two tubes right next to each other. You just pop off the end cap, squirt some out. Actually, I find the plastic epoxy easier because both of them are similar consistencies. Like this one of them is a bit harder, so you have to really make sure you get equal amounts of both coming out. Just because you're pushing on both doesn't mean you'll get equal amounts of both parts coming out, but you want to make sure you get both. Then I like using a small cocktail skewer or something, and you just mix it up, and then you can go from there. Use a popsicle stick, whatever, to apply it to your surface. That way too. Then I just set just the end of it in the remaining, so you can pop it right off, and then either clean off the stick or just break off the bit you used, and you have a long stick, so you got a lot of use out of that. I highly recommend using any sort of epoxy or adhesives, well, with the exception of hot glue, on wax paper. This is actually a cereal box wrapper. You know, like when you pour out your cereal and you run out, have this nice little wrapper in there. Makes great. It almost works. I would say it works much better than wax paper actually, because wax paper sometimes will stick to it or peel off. But this works really great for that. Like, this piece has been around a lot. You can see some plastic epoxy over here, and it comes right off. But yeah, that works great. And this, you just got to make sure you knead it so it's a uniform color. Just like playing with Play-Doh or clay, just mash it up together in your hands, roll it on, just press it, apply it. You can come back, sand it, whatever. All these you can sand. You can't sand hot glue. Well, okay, you can, but it'll gum up your sandpaper. Wouldn't recommend it. So that is this week's tip. And don't forget, if you have an idea for a tip or would like to see something, send me a message and I will try and get it in there.